What's good, people? It's about that time to randomly relate, reverse rants, no hate. So, two things I want to talk about real quick. First off, let me give a quick explanation of something about Manny Pacquiao. Now, Manny Pacquiao is 42 years old. He's a grown man. He's not a baby. I am not walking around playing, boxing protection program for fighters. You as a fighter, you as a man, you your own man. You have to, make wise decisions. You have to, keep it real with yourself about where you stand as a fighter, okay? Now, let me say this. If you guys pay attention to the things I say, when you see things coming to fruition, a lot of times people, they see it, but they don't really understand it until I repeat myself and they go, oh yeah, you did say that. I'm not telling you these things so you can go, hey, Aries is a fucking genius, boy. That fucking Aries, yeah. No, what I'm saying to you guys is based off the reality of what I see. Okay, how many times you gotta prick your finger with a razor blade before you realize it's gonna bleed? So you can't, motherfucker. See again? Yeah, because you keep doing that shit. Stop. Simple. All right, it's that simple. Manny Pacquiao. People asked about him making an excuse. Somebody personally asked me, dude, I feel like he's making an excuse about his legs. And I'm not going to go through the whole conversation. You guys saw the video, okay? And out of all the breakdowns I gave, to sum it all up, my point to that person was this. If Ugas had lost that fight and said his legs are tight, would you have said, oh, so that's the reason he lost? Or would you have said, nah, man, stop making excuses. Manny Pacquiao was the better fighter and he won. Okay? And in the very beginning of the video, I tell you guys, I'm answering the question that I was asked. So, when you guys respond to me as if you didn't see the beginning of the video, first off, right, I'm entitled to my opinion and I'm going to say what I want to say. But I'm not going to sit here and just say something and be biased about it. No. Intelligent people get it. People with just common sense get it. It's the ones who get in their feelings because they're fanboys or fangirls. The reality is this, right? And I say in the video, there's no way I can sit here and tell you what that man's legs felt like. Okay? So I gave comparisons of a whole lot of other fighters in situations where they said something was wrong in the fight. And people made excuses. One of the family made a comment saying that it's an excuse because people treat Manny Pacquiao like he's a god. And that's true. Manny Pacquiao can do no wrong. So when I bring up certain things, it's to make comparisons so you guys realize you shoot down and criticize other fighters for making the same excuses. Now, when they say it, it's the excuse. If Manny say it, it's facts. Now, if that's how you feel, even to ask me that question is what I'm saying. So I answered the question with a question and made examples attached to it to make this person really understand. Like, yeah. And you know what? For the most part, the person says to me, nah, you're right. You're right. That's true. Because, for one, let's look at David Haye, for example, and Tony Bellew. We know for a fact something was wrong with David Haye. You could see him stumbling around. You could see. And then we know he had to get surgery. Now, did it matter? Would he have won the fight? Which is what everybody was saying. Yo, Tony was catching with some shots. And true Tony Bellew shots, he was able to take them. He was getting hit, but he wasn't wobbling from his shots or going there. He was just getting hit and he couldn't get out the way of the shots. So you saw in the rematch what happened, right? His Achilles tendon was fixed. But guess what? He just couldn't beat Tony Bellew. Now, we can make all these excuses up and say, well, it was because of this and that. But at the end of the day, when I made the comparison about the shoulder, because the person somebody made a comment about if you understand Philippine. No, I don't understand how to speak Philippine. No, I don't. But I speak English, and my eyes work as well. So the comparison that I made to say, well, another comparison was, okay, look at in the Floyd fight. Not one time did you hear him say, forget what he said to Boo Boy. What you would say to Boo Boy, it would be the same thing that you would say to his trainer. I forget these guys' names. Y'all know his trainer is the one that got Parkinson's, okay? Not one time did you see them ice Manny Pacquiao shoulder down in that corner. Not one time did you hear him say, man, my shoulder's bothering me. But you heard them later on after the fight maybe some time after the fight, make a comment about how, well, Manny hurt his shoulder in training. That ain't got nothing to do with Floyd Mayweather. That's nothing to do with it. And then people, oh, if it wasn't for his shoulder. Okay, well, wait. See, you're making excuses for him as well. So this is my thing. Let's say it was a fighter who you don't care about. Okay, and you wanted Floyd to win. And that fighter said, oh, my shoulder. Then you'd say, stop making excuses, right? Because you don't care about that fighter. That was my whole thing. If you yourself, you're asking me that question, but if you yourself say other fighters are making excuses for saying and having the same situations, then how can you sit here and say that Manny Pacquiao is telling the truth? That's something you got to answer. And that's really how I answered that question. That was my whole point of the whole thing. Because personally, I made a whole video about the fight. And not one time in that video did you hear me even mention anything about Manny Pacquiao's, I'm saying his legs were tight. I saw the fight. I saw the post-conference. I know what he said. I didn't forget what he said. It was just no reason for me to bring it up. For the simple fact, look, Manny's done what he had to do. He's had a great career. But yes, Manny can do no wrong. He can cheat on his wife. Nobody brings it up, but you bring it up about other fighters. You can, you know, no matter what he says, it does. He made a comment about Floyd, saying he don't like Floyd because of what he does to women. It's like, for you to promote a fight and then say that, but then go shake the guy's hand and show him respect. You saw each other at a basketball game. You walked over to him to shake his hand. So if you see him as a woman beater, is such a, see, you guys are different from me. Because if I don't like a person, I'm not shaking your hand. You can't shake my hand. You can't come to me and say nothing to me if I don't like you. So the things that he was saying, I'm feeling like none of that got nothing to do with boxing. Nothing he said had nothing to do with boxing. So your personal dislike for people and all, I don't get caught up into that. My whole thing is, as a fighter, right? I don't know you personally. I know you as a fighter. So that's what I focus on. I don't need to focus on your personal life and what this person said or did. Kovalev fans deny everything that they hear about Kovalev. The racist remarks, the things he did, that people can actually show that he did and play footage of him saying inappropriate things. Oh, people just take it the wrong way. He not meant it like that. Well, how did he mean it? So that was what I did. Let me let you answer that question for yourself. That's pretty much what I did. So that person actually told me, yeah, you're right. And the whole thing was, I wasn't trying to put the person on blast, which is why I didn't say their name, but I did mention that the person asked me. That's why, and I thought it was a good idea to do the video, because it's like, you know what? Because a lot of people, they talk about things like that. So you answer your own question. And personally, like I said, I can't tell you how that man's legs feel. Would it have made a difference? We don't know. Now, you got fighters saying, oh, if it was just because of his legs, then yeah, he could fight again because he held his own. Listen, Nito Donaire is 38 years old. That's his countryman. He just won a title, 2 months ago? And was supposed to have a rematch or whatever. And then because of some comments that was made about his wife, right? The fight is off. And people are going, oh, he's a bitch, man. Nah, this and that. See, here's my thing, bro. Look, man, there's certain things that just don't belong in boxing. And I feel like when you're trying to promote a fight, when you're trying to or go make some money, trying to put something together for people to come out and enjoy, I think all that's the wrong ingredients. So if he took it personal because somebody was saying something about his wife, and you can say what you want, but he handled it the way he handled it. Now, Manny Pacquiao, on the other hand, he's in a position where his fan base may help him go in there and get himself really hurt in the ring. Because I can tell you, legs tight or not, Manny Pacquiao's hands is considerably slower now. You can actually see his hands are nothing like they was. His legs had nothing to do with his hands not being fast. When I watched Manny Pacquiao in that ring, it was like, I'm like, yeah, he's not the same Pacquiao. Nah. Okay. Roy Jones was 37, 38 when he got knocked out by Antonio Tarver. I think he's 36 if he hadn't turned 37, because he was 36 the first time he fought. I don't remember if he's 36, whatever. Bottom line, he wasn't 40 yet. Okay, he wasn't 40 years old yet. He went there and got knocked out by Glenn Johnson, who's not even a big puncher. Because Roy Jones' hands were still fast, he still had pop on his punch, and he still had that flash and flare style. People kept thinking Roy had one great fight left in him. And I was saying, when he got knocked out by Glenn, I could see he was flat-footed in the Tarver fight. And I know, like, okay, he lost all that muscle, 25 pounds of muscle, and he was gasping for air early in the fight. I get it, right? But I'm saying, even in that fight, he was flat-footed. The whole fight, he was flat-footed. And I'm like, okay, Roy, one of his biggest assets was being able to get in and out. And his legs couldn't do that anymore. So now he has to adjust and use his reflexes. He needs to counterpunch, but he needs to also attack. Because when Roy throws his shots, his opponents are not punching. And I think where counterpunching hurt Roy Jones was simply because when he gets shots, especially combinations thrown at him, now his legs can't get him in and out. He just kind of turns his head and moves, and then he's right there. When he goes on the ropes, that's when he gets in trouble. Okay? And then his reflexes were not what they used to be as well. People around me didn't understand what I was seeing. Yeah, but Aries though, but look, his hands are still, his hands are still fast. Yeah, but you don't understand. That's part of what made him great. The other things that made him great are the reasons why he's losing now. And then after he got knocked out by Tarver, let's be real, and Glenn Johnson, like, he just couldn't take a punch anymore. His chin was like, okay, I can take a decent pop, but a solid one, I'm gone. I mean, we saw it. So, do you guys want to see Manny Pacquiao take the Roy Jones route, have a great career, and end up fighting to the point you don't even want to see him fight? That's what happened with Roy. It's like, when I knew Roy was, I couldn't even watch him, because it was like, nah, I don't even want to watch him go in there and get embarrassed. And even if he lose to a journeyman, and you talk about it, then you got to give him credit for beating the journeyman, because he's no longer in his prime. So with what he had left, okay, he wins some, he lose some. But we know that this is no longer a prime Roy. The thing is, you just lose interest. Manny Pacquiao may be one of those guys that just constantly feel like he has something to prove. And then when they put you in there against lesser opponents, your fans are going, yo, he look good. And then all of a sudden, you get in there with a top guy, and you wind up getting destroyed. Manny Pacquiao's legs get him in and out. He gets, to throw punches at awkward angles. And when he doesn't have that, guess what? It's a different ball game for him. So even if his legs was tight and he couldn't move the way he wanted, we still don't know if it would have made a difference. We don't know if it would have made a difference. And that's what would warrant a rematch with people who just want more and more and more. And if he goes in there and really gets hurt, then people are going to, damn, that's messed up. What happened to Manny Pacquiao? Yeah. And guess what? You all sat there and applauded for him to jump his ass back in there when he could have just, you know what? It is what it is. And fighters that want to prove something to themselves, Manny Pacquiao takes this shit to heart, to where you heard how he told, what did he tell the fans? I sorry, but I didn't get the victory, but I tried my best. And they applauded him. They got great respect for Manny Pacquiao. So he may go in there thinking, I got to prove it to myself, and I want to go out with a win. I want to make up that loss to the people that support me. And you had that one fight too many. And that's the chance you take as a fighter. But at the same time, I saw a different Manny Pacquiao in there, tight legs or not. And if anybody who's sitting there talking, want to rah-rah Manny Pacquiao, he can do no wrong, yeah, he's invincible, he's superhuman, he just basically had a bad night. Okay, just understand something. It's not your fault if you go in there, but you guys certainly contribute to him feeling like he have something to prove, and he goes back in there. Like I said, because if that would have been Errol Spence in there, if that would have been Errol Spence or Terrence Crawford in there, imagine what they would have did to him. Because Ugas is not as good as either one of them. And Ugas, let me just say, is not as good as he used to be. I'll watch Ugas, and I'm like, yeah, Ugas is not the same either. But he dominated that fight. So you keep on applauding Manny Pacquiao to the point where he gets in there and look, what just happened to Zab Judah not too long ago? What happened to Adonis Stevenson not too long ago? And people forget that. Because you just want more. Until the worst happens. And then it's like, oh shit, that's so fucked up. Nobody wants to see Manny Pacquiao land up in a coma. Nobody wants to see these fighters die in the ring, man. But you guys sit there and keep thinking that they got that one last fight, that one last great fight, and then and trying to prove something to you fans that keep telling them you still got it, you're still the champ, we love you, yada yada. And they feel like they got something to prove. So that was my thing on that, you know. And as far as and let me tell you something. Everybody had different opinions, and a lot of these opinions I saw as accurate in a lot of different areas. But you do have people who, no, it's just no matter what this person do or say, no, it's not wrong until I'm going to support him regardless. I don't care. And that's your business. But at the end of the day, again, for the people that sit and want to criticize every other fighter that you don't care about and say they make excuses, but then when your fighter says, oh, it's because of my legs, why is it not an excuse for him? So that's why I said I'll let you guys, you asked me the question, but I'm gonna answer your question with a question, which I normally don't like to do that, but I did that in this reason. I just felt like this was a good way to do this because I want you to think about what you're saying. That was the whole thing. What would you have said if it would have been shoe on the other foot? Would you have believed Ugas, or would you have said it was an excuse? Have Ugas been a guy full of excuses all his career? No. Do you see him that way? No, you don't. You just didn't want him to win against Manny Pacquiao. Cool. But what would you have said? Would have been a legitimate reason or an excuse? Now, when he says, you're right, he's letting me know. If Ugas would have said that, he would have said it was an excuse. Case closed on that. Tyrone Woodley versus Jake Paul. Let me tell y'all something. I told you guys boxing is changing. Everything around us is changing. Okay. I don't remember, was it Cecilia Brækhus or was it somebody else? I don't remember. I just remember it was a woman some years ago. She was getting ready to go into a fight and they were having a face off and her opponent just kissed her on the mouth and she slapped the lady in the face for kissing her. And it was like a little, it wasn't a spin your head around slap. It was like, oh shit, like she caught off guard and she embarrassed and she turned around, she's walking, wiping her lips, and her husband standing there looking there like, what the fuck? Like, okay. We seen Marcos Maidana. Ricardo Mayorga. I think that shit was fixed anyway. Just the way it happened, man, and how she turned around, like some WWE shit. She's talking and she just happens to turn around and turn her back to the guy. He stands there and take his hand and Shane Mosley gave him one of the bitchiest slaps I've ever seen in my life. Like, you put your hands on my woman, bro. Like, you understand what I'm saying? Like, any man knows that you touch somebody's woman, nah. A slap to your face, you slap somebody's woman's ass, and then in return, he slapped her ass harder than Shane slapped his face. Shane gave Ricardo Mayorga a love tap. He with that slap, he should have said, hey, thanks, man. You just made her day. But, again, I saw something with Tyrone Woodley and Jake Paul where I just got up like, all right, I can't watch this shit anymore. I went from watching boxers carry themselves as gentlemen all the way back to the black and white TV days where fighters just talked about the fight and they wasn't in there savagely insulting their opponents and whatever. They just talked about the fight and what they think about the fight, what they think about the fighter. And you watched it get to a point where the insults started pouring in. Fights in between fights. Larry Holmes running across whatever he was running across and jumped off and drop kicked Trevor Burbick in the chest, and Tyson biting Lennox Lewis on his damn thigh, and excuse me, just all types of different shit. To people kissing people in the mouth. Jake Paul is sitting there talking to Tyrone Woodley. Let me just say this, all right? Tyrone Woodley is not a boxer. He said he always had an interest in boxing, so he's been training to learn to box and throw combinations and okay. Tyrone Woodley's not a big puncher. He's a lot smaller than Jake Paul initially. So these guys, him and his brother, they choose to fight guys, like I said, that's past their prime, that's much older than them, pretty much retired, not even active in the sport anymore. And then they talk a lot of trash, like they accomplished something. But at the end of the day, they're not fighting guys in their prime. Okay? They don't want that. They're monopolizing I just seen Jake Paul on WWE TV the other day, and the WWE fans had enough sense to boo him out the building. They booed him so bad that he didn't even finish the segment. Okay? They booed him so bad. They wouldn't let The Miz and John Morrison talk. They didn't want to hear nothing Jake Paul had to say. And they got it. Okay? They didn't even want to hear him talk. Boxing fans, on the other hand, pack into these arenas to see this motherfucker. So here's what I'm saying. Jake Paul and his brother Logan Paul are the ones really robbing the bank. Because these dudes get more views, make more money than pro boxers. Think about this. We talk about Canelo being the biggest, him and Anthony Joshua being the biggest stars in boxing, right? And then Jake Paul and Logan Paul can make what they make. But Terrence Crawford can't. Errol Spence can't. Keith Thurman can't. Manny Pacquiao can't. So you tell me, if you guys don't see the change and feel it, Jake Paul is sitting there, they're supposed to be promoting the fight. He's making silly faces. He's just saying a bunch of shit that got nothing to do with boxing, and then he turns around and he tells Tyrone Woodley he has nice ass cheeks. Yo, I want to grab those cheeks. Told him I might grab a hump on those cheeks during the fight. I just want to grab his ass cheeks, and I'm sitting there like, what the fuck am up? Like, okay, at that point they lost me. Listen, the way boxing is being promoted is ridiculous. The way things are happening in sports today, period, is just getting to a point where people are becoming more and more childish. And when they get in front of this thing right here, yeah, a camera, everything about them, it gets to the point, if you notice, everybody want to be a bad guy. Everybody want to be a heel. Everybody want to, put themselves in a position of being something what they're not. And they think that that's the way to do it. Let me piss some people off. Because people will tune in more out of hate than they will out of love and stuff like that. And every day, that's all you hear people talk about. Haters, haters, haters. All my haters, my haters, my haters. And it's just to a point where, honestly, in today's society, a 15-year-old is no different from a 45-year-old. I see 60-something-year-old men walking out here trying to be young boys. You're grown-ass men. So everything that you see is all about money. And it doesn't matter the age group. If we can make money off these motherfuckers, let's do it. They just put Chavez in the ring about a month ago against Hector Camacho Jr. People would rather see that. They watch Anderson Silva fight Chavez Jr. And people would rather see that shit than to see Teofimo Lopez, which is one of the reasons why his fight was postponed and moved again. So you got to ask yourselves, like, what's going on, right? What am I watching? And not even ask yourself. You got to just be real with yourself and realize, like, yeah, it's a different time, man. I'm not interested in Tyrone Woodley versus Jake Paul. But that fight is getting more press and more attention. They have, like, all access for that shit. And I'm watching like, damn. Where was the all access for Manny Pacquiao? And what was the all access for Manny Pacquiao and Ugas? Where's the all access for Usyk and Joshua? Where's the all access for these fights? They did it for Tyrone Woodley and Jake Paul. And neither one of them are boxers. So it's just something for y'all to pay attention to, because at the end of the day, y'all, we are seeing things happening now that, in my opinion, shouldn't be happening. Not the fact that they're able to get that bag, because everything changes in life, and I'm aware of that. So what we're used to, I've been telling you, get that out your mind. That's not what's going to keep happening. You're going to have fighters that promote the fights properly. You're going to have fighters that go in there, they want to fight. But overall, the attention is all around drama and marketability. That's why you can take a guy who's not as skilled as another, but guess what? He gets more attention because of his antics. Like, look at Adrian Broner. Loss after loss after loss after loss. A lot of people probably don't even remember that Adrian Broner just fought a couple of months ago. He won, and he's been inactive ever since. You understand? He's been inactive. So who is his next fight going to be? What did he say when he came back? He had some ring rust. Okay. How are you going to shake that ring rust if you're out there still you're not training for a particular fight? And what people understand is the difference between being in shape and being in fight shape. And when Adrian Broner is in between fights and he don't have a fight opponent, his belly gets huge, his face gets off, and it's like, what are you doing? Now fight time come and you feel like that's more motivation for you to train. No, bro, like they don't get it, man. He's telling Al Heyman, "Oh, yo, keep me busy." No, you keep yourself busy. So who do you want to fight? They got live events now. They got the fight. The crowds coming back into the arenas. Who do you want to fight? I don't care about people saying him versus Regis Prograis. What if? No. Who are you going to fight? And this is what I'm saying. So marketability, doing a bunch of stuff that cause, just saying crazy shit, getting heat drawn to you. This is what people are all about. This is that day and time. That's why they think Terrence Crawford is boring. That's why he's not marketable. Because even though he can box, guess what? It's other things surrounding it. And if you can't draw, they don't care. So basically, for Adrian Broner or any other fighter that think like silly antics and stuff is the way to go, you got to understand and think. Adrian Broner is 30-something years old. We're not talking about some 18-year-old fighters. No, he's a grown-ass 30-something-year-old man. And he's asking another man, keep me busy, man. Accountability, people. So, anyways, I just wanted to touch upon those things. And if Jake Paul and Tyrone Woodley have a sellout crowd at that event, or just a massive crowd that's bigger than actual pro boxers crowds, I mean, I already see what it is. But that's why you see Logan and Jake Paul jumping up on WWE. They pop up at other events and different things, showing their faces, and they're promoting themselves. They are promoting themselves. Like I said, when you are an athlete, you are a brand. And if you don't have the understanding that, hey, the stuff right now, right, that you see going on, that's just what it is, and you think that one day it's all going to change. No, it's not. It changes with time. Because it changes into something else. The mindsets of people change. But if you think it's going to go away, like people will feel like, oh, nah, this is bad TV. This is not good for... No, that's not what's going to change it. It's all about money for these people. Y'all got to understand that, man. You got to understand that marketability isn't what we're looking at. We're looking at the skills of these fighters. Excuse me. But if these fighters can't draw, if these fighters just don't get attention like that, if these fighters don't know how to help promote themselves, if these fighters don't put their foot down and not sit and just complain about it, but yo, what am I going to do to get my face out there? What am I going to do and also branch out and have other things going on so they have different, sources of income coming in? Because when these fighters are fighting and they're making millions of dollars already, and they start losing their hunger, and they start looking back, at least you can walk away from boxing and say, you know what? I'm not what I used to be, but I'm still one of the top guys. And you know what? My hunger's not there. And I got other things that I'm doing that I'm getting money from. Because if you decide to just call it quits, at least you know financially you're good. And you put all these years into this sport just to end up broke, just to end up having to come back later in your life trying to convince us that you're better now than you ever was. That's not what's gonna cut it. So what I say about that type of stuff is based on just the reality of watching other fighters who we could sit here and pull up their profiles and watch all these old fights and talk about, yeah, that was a great fight. Yeah, this guy was this, he was that. And then when you see something current for those fighters that's still alive, they can barely talk. They're laying up in nursing homes. Some of them are homeless. But we're sitting here talking about who would it beat who in a fight. Is that helping that person in life now? Like, you forget life after boxing. It's not all about throwing punches and getting punched. We're all human beings. And that's why I'm saying the things that I say, you guys need to pay attention to, like, the monopoly. The way they monopolize shit is they talk about fighters and show you certain things. Excuse me. And you sit here and you get so caught up into, like I said, cheering for your favorite fighter that you want to see them go out with a win. But you got to realize, like, nah, you know what? At some point, you just got to stop. At some point, you just got to stop. All the wear and tear on your body, the damage to your brain, and yet all people are talking about is more. I mean, it is what it is. You know, like I said, I'm not walking around here like, oh man, please protect these fighters. No, I feel like they should have a pension. They should have something to fall back on. But at the same time, it's like these guys got to make wiser decisions. So when you hear Floyd Mayweather say Pacquiao is fighting because he has to, he's not fighting because he wants to. He has to. And you guys get offended by stuff like that. But when you find out later on that such and such guy was broke, this happened, that happened, and he was still, then you going, damn, that's fucked up what happened. But do you have the maturity to realize, damn, he wasn't insulting him. He was really telling the truth. Like, damn, okay. And he's not bringing him up. People are asking and making comparisons, oh, you're fighting a YouTuber, Manny Pacquiao is fighting, like, hey, listen, I'm retired. Hey, like you said, hey, blessings, I wish him nothing but the best. But Pacquiao is fighting because he has to. I don't have to. I don't have to fight. These guys come to me and offer me $35 million to fight. You think I'm not going to? I'm going to rob the bank every time. Think about it. So Floyd made $35 million in an exhibition against a guy that was 200 pounds, and Floyd's 151 pounds that night. Okay, whatever it was. And he went there for the exhibition and made $35 million. So y'all can criticize and talk, but he's no longer an active fighter. You understand what I'm saying? It's not about the comparisons. That's the petty side of it. The reality is, all of what you guys are saying, what you don't understand is, these guys put their life on the line to go in there and make money. And it's going to be moves they make that you like. There's going to be moves that they make that you don't like. But what you need to understand ultimately is, overall, boxing is not their whole life. And once they put those gloves down, what do they have to rely on? That's the thing that people seem to overlook, because they're so into the, oh yeah, one more fight. Oh, he would have beat this guy. And then you got all these juices start flowing and you're talking, but you're not the one in there taking punishment. Just think about that, Anyway, never fall in love with lies. Remember, the truth brings hate out of people, and I will catch y'all on the next video.